Hello everyone, I'm Bran. And I'm Don. And this is your Week 1 NFL Update. The Chiefs and Ravens kicked off the 2024 season the same way they both ended last season, with a big win for the Chiefs and a big fat loss to the Chiefs for the Ravens. Most of Baltimore's offense came from an unlikely source, as tight end Isaiah Likely racked up 9 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown, while Mark Andrews' picture is actively being placed on milk cartons across the country as we speak. Seriously, if you see him, please let us know. As for the Chiefs, they look even better than last year, which is a problem since, they won the Super Bowl last year. Now, we have reached out to the rest of the NFL to ask why they let Kansas City add the fastest player in NFL history to their roster, despite having the worst draft position in the league, but as of now, all teams have declined to comment. Probably because our voicemails were very vulgar. Chiefs win 27-20 because Isaiah Likely's cleats were half a size too big. The NFL headed to Sao Paulo, Brazil for some Friday Night Football, which featured the highly unprecedented first ever NFL game played on an ice skating rink. As expected, players were slipping all over the place, raising questions about, I'm sorry, I'm being told this game was not some sort of NHL collaboration, and in fact, the NFL just doesn't give a about the quality of the turf their million-dollar athletes are playing on. My mistake. As for the game itself, Saquon Barkley showed what he can do when he's playing with an offensive line and quarterback that aren't complete trash by scoring 3 touchdowns seemingly in his sleep, while Jordan Love did his best Aaron Rodgers impression by throwing off his back foot constantly and almost going down with a season-ending injury in Week 1. But turns out Love is pretty bad at imitating Rodgers on both fronts because the back foot throws sucked and he's only going to be out for a few weeks. Eagles win 34-29 in the battle of green teams that weren't supposed to wear green. Arthur Smith ruined Falcons fans' days yet again, but this time from the opposite sideline. The Steelers' new offensive coordinator returned to Atlanta and beat his old team, but I'm not sure how much credit we should really give him since they did it on the back of 0 touchdowns and 6 field goals. Then again, he had Justin Fields as his quarterback, so maybe we should give him a break. Meanwhile, the new-look Falcons looked as mid as ever with shiny new quarterback Kirk Cousins throwing for 155 yards and 2 interceptions in his first game. Now, naturally, it may take Kirk some time to get comfortable in this new offense, which is why it's important to be patient. Good thing the Falcons don't have a backup quarterback that they spent a top 10 pick on and who fans will start clamoring for if the offense doesn't get it together. That would be a disaster. Steelers win 18-10. The Cincinnati Bengals are notoriously slow starters, so a Week 1 game against a team expected to be one of the worst in the NFL is exactly what the doctor ordered. Except they lost again. Jamar Chase generously graced the Bengals with his presence after crying about his contract for the last 2 months, but it didn't make a difference. The offense looked lost, and Burrow kicked off his Slim Shady era by performing like 2024 Eminem, by being a massive disappointment and reminding us how much we miss the old version of him. On the other side, the Patriots showed they don't need Bill Belichick to be competitive. They don't even need a quarterback to pass for more than 120 yards. All they need is a good running back, good vibes, and to face a team that thinks the NFL season starts in October. Patriots win 16-10. In a battle of 2 of the NFL's young star quarterbacks, it was the Boomers who made headlines in this one. 30-year-old Stephon Diggs scored 2 touchdowns in his debut for his new team, while Joe Mixon, at 28 years old, which we all know is really 65 in running back years, rumbled for 159 yards on 30 carries. Turns out these two might just be lightly toasted instead of completely cooked. Anthony Richardson did Anthony Richardson things, effectively turning Lucas Oil Stadium into Pearl Harbor with the number of bombs he was throwing, while also missing some easy ones and bullying dudes in the run game. This was a great divisional showdown that pretty much went as expected, except for the fact that it was Ice Rink 2 Electric Boogaloo, thanks to the Colts installing some slippery new turf this offseason. Maybe we should figure this out before the season so the stars of the league aren't at risk of shredding their Achilles like pulled pork, but what do I know? Texans win 29-27. The Dolphins season got off to an interesting start as Tyreek Hill was detained prior to their Week 1 game. But clearly he wasn't fazed because Hill responded by dropping 130 yards and a touchdown on the Jaguars' heads en route to a comeback victory. For Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence continues to refuse to take that next step forward as a quarterback, despite the Jags reshuffling their receiver room for the 50th time. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like he might be pretty good, but when Trevor throws for fewer yards than Geno Smith, Derek Carr, and Sam Darnold, it probably doesn't matter. Also, Tank Bigsby might be better than Travis Etienne, which is great news considering his name is a lot cooler. And players with cooler names should always be better. I don't make the rules. Dolphins win 20-17. If you missed Marvin Harrison Jr.'s NFL debut, don't worry. Just head to your local park and watch some middle-aged man run aimlessly for a few hours. I promise you'll achieve the same result. But hey, anytime you can funnel the offense through 5'7" Greg Dortch instead of your prototypical alpha wide receiver that you spent the 4th overall pick on, you gotta do it, right? Despite Harrison's 3-hour cardio showcase, the Cardinals still almost upset the Bills on the road, but fell just short because Josh Allen is an alien man. With no Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis in Buffalo anymore, people were wondering who would step up. The answer? Josh Allen. He ran for 2 touchdowns and threw for 2 more despite none of his receivers going over 60 yards. Further proving what we already know, which is that the Bills are just the fighting Josh Allens at this point. Fighting Josh Allens win 34-28. Will Levis doubled down on his mayonnaise commitment this offseason by partnering with Hellmann's to release a mayo-scented cologne. Turns out he should have doubled down on not sucking at football. Some have compared Levis to Jameis Winston for his willingness to throw the ball downfield with reckless abandon. I'm comparing him to Jameis Winston because I think he might be blind and need LASIK after some of the throws he made on Sunday. On the flip side, it was a successful debut for number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams, who took home the game ball after winning his first ever start. And he definitely deserved that game ball. I don't even want to think where the Bears might have been without the whopping 93 passing yards Williams provided. Surely that was the difference. Bears win 24-17. There was plenty of optimism surrounding the Panthers this offseason. Well, there shouldn't have been. After bringing in a new coach, new weapons, new linemen, and hoping for a year 2 jump from Bryce Young, Carolina looked just as bad as ever. Arguably worse. Getting your cheeks sufficiently clapped by a team whose own quarterback and head coach were thought to be on the hot seat to start the season is a tough look. But honestly, this is what David Tepper deserves. As for the Saints, was this 47-point barrage a sign that they're turning things around? Or was it just a result of the Panthers being hot poopy doo-doo butt? Only time will tell, but it's definitely a good start under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Saints win 47-10. Speaking of not knowing if you're actually good or not because you played horrible competition, Sam Darnold and the Vikings actually didn't look too bad. Darnold actually started the game 12 for 12 passing, which had many fans wondering if the world had in fact ended. Was this real life? Or had we slipped into some alternate, possibly post-apocalyptic reality where Sam Darnold was actually able to complete any passes, let alone 12 in a row? But then we realized we must be in our usual reality because Daniel Jones was hot garbage. It remains to be seen how much longer the Giants are going to pretend that Jones isn't literally the worst quarterback in the league, but they'll probably have to face that reality soon, whether it's on their own or after Malik Neighbors inevitably tries to kill him. Vikings win 28-6. Lucky for the Giants, Jones isn't the only quarterback with an objectively embarrassing contract. Deshaun Watson continues to show zero intention of getting back to his former self, making his 5-year, $230 million contract the worst investment since those Bored Ape NFTs. Nothing like squandering the potential of an otherwise great roster because you wanted to trade for a predator who's so mentally broken by his own transgressions that he can't throw a 5-yard out. The Cowboys, on the other hand, finally paid their quarterback just before game time, even though they could have gotten it done months ago and saved millions of dollars. When asked for comment, the allegedly still with it Jerry Jones was quoted as saying, "Who are you people? What year is it? The lizard people are coming." The Cowboys dominate Groper Cleveland and the Browns 33-17. While the Browns continue to feel the consequences of their own actions, the quarterback they never should have let go led the Buccaneers to their 4th straight opening week victory. Mike Evans caught 2 touchdowns as he appears to be aging backwards like a football Benjamin Button, and Bucky Irving made an impact in the run game, which is great for the brand. I mean, a buck named Bucky being good? I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime type of coinky-dink. It may be an election year, but the only man running in Washington that football fans care about is Jaden Daniels, and he's running a lot. 16 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, until he gets his passing yards up over 200, he's definitely going to face some running back allegations. But when he's one of the most productive running backs in the whole league, who cares? Bucks win 37-20. The AFC West continues to try to make us care about a team other than the Chiefs and continues to do a pretty mediocre job at it. Jim Harbaugh returned to an NFL sideline for the first time in 10 years and did so with a win, leaving people to wonder, is there a blue and yellow football team on earth that Jim Harbaugh can't coach to victory? This win came on the back of running back J.K. Dobbins, who, after tearing his ACL and Achilles in the past 3 years, put up a performance that has doctors confused, concerned, and a little aroused. But we don't want to get too carried away about the Chargers because they were playing the Raiders, who essentially waved the white flag on this season as soon as they agreed to come into it with Gardner Minshew and or Aiden O'Connell as their quarterback. There is some good news for Vegas, though. Alexander Mattison appears to have gotten his powers back now that he's a backup again. If you make him a starter, he stinks. But if you make him a backup and just work him in here and there, he's a Hall of Famer. Go figure. Chargers win 22-10. Bo Nix's NFL debut showed everyone why he tried to stay in college as long as he possibly could, because every time he threw the ball, I could smell the fear through my television screen. Sean Payton thought he got his new Drew Brees, but it turns out he might have his new Ian Book. If Bo Nix was asked to throw an accurate ball downfield or draw 25, he would have enough cards to open up his own casino. But the Seahawks didn't look much better for most of the game, allowing 2 safeties in the first half, that's always fun, before finally remembering that the Broncos have exactly 1 good player on their roster and Pat Surtain can't play all 11 positions. They ran the ball down Denver's throat with Kenneth Walker, and that was that. So not only did the Seahawks bully the Broncos off the field by pawning Russell Wilson off on them and financially crippling them for years to come, they bullied them on the field too. Maybe the Broncos should give Paxton Lynch a call and see what he's up to. Seahawks win 26-20. Even though he plays for the Rams now, Matthew Stafford continued a trend that started back when he played for the Lions. Not being able to win meaningful games in Detroit. Between the playoff game last year and the season opener this year, it's probably in Stafford's best interest to stop going there, especially since he just gets booed anyway. Puka Nacua got hurt, but that's okay because Cooper Kupp gobbled up so many balls you'd think the game broadcast was X-rated. It wasn't enough to win though because Dan Campbell unleashed his secret weapon, which really shouldn't have been a secret because it was Jameson Williams, the same guy who abused the Rams in the playoffs last year. But it is nice to see that he was able to parlay that playoff performance into a good start this season. I said parlay because Williams once got suspended for gambling. Little wordplay for you. Lions bite off the Rams' kneecaps 26-20. Aaron Rodgers' other Achilles had the opportunity to do the funniest thing in week 1, but fortunately for the Jets, he escaped the game unscathed. Unfortunately for the Jets, though, their record did not escape unscathed, as they lost in decisive fashion to the team Rodgers still wishes he got drafted by. In true Jets fashion, even when something good happens to them, like finally having a decent quarterback, something equally bad has to happen to them, like their standout defense turning into moldy Swiss cheese. The Jets got abused by San Francisco's running back all night long, and the worst part was it wasn't Christian McCaffrey, who was a surprise inactive because Kyle Shanahan is a sneaky little snake man. Instead, it was Jordan Mason, who ran for 147 yards and a touchdown because this offensive scheme could make your grandma look like Adrian Peterson. Also, if you face Jake Moody in fantasy football, please take the toaster out of your bathtub. It's gonna be okay. And that'll do it for this week's NFL Update. I'm Bran, and I'm Don, and we'll see you guys next time.